changes this season to that roster. Why is this team, or is it better prepared to win a playoff round in the last couple of seasons? It's been a minute since the team's winning the playoff.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we know how difficult that is. It's been some time for our franchise. I think some of the players that have been added are, I think the one obvious thing is you look at some size, some physicality. We all know those are playoff attributes for sure. And I think experience. You know, you can never discount the experience. If you look at Darcy and Eddie, there's two guys that won the Stanley Cup. So that with the youth that we have coming in, I think really can support our core veterans who have really been at it for a while.
Common consensus amongst the players seemed to be an uptick in physicality and intensity on day one. Did you see those same kinds of things in the practices this year?
Sure did. I saw it in the practice. We didn't have that many contact drills, but when we did at the end, you could see it. But I thought the game had a tone to it that I haven't seen. You know, that was more like the old school. Usually old school, then there'd be a bunch of fights. There still isn't a lot of fighting, but the physicality and I thought maybe the general seriousness of the scrimmage is what really impressed me.
Phil talked about Q being one of the guys who's kind of started that meanness, I guess, of physicality. Is that something you're kind of preaching to him a little bit this season?
I just think as a Russell, as a team, we need to be a little bit more assertive, a little more aggressive. And I think that's one thing to say, but I think when you add some of the people like we did and you got some reinforcements, I think that helps everybody look around and just say, okay, you know what I mean? It's not just me or you or us, it's all of us now, because we have a lot of guys, whether it's Q or anybody else that's willing to, you know, get in there a little bit and make sure we're sticking up for each other. I think it's just a general mindset.
Locke talked about kind of caring for each other. Is that kind of same message?
Yeah, I would say, and that, you know, that you can extend that. You know, that's an interesting word. You can extend that, and I think sometimes you got to be willing to do a little bit more, and know that somebody's got your back.
The adjustment now to the 1-2-2.
He wins, guys. Let's give him the money. We had a pool. You're the only guy who didn't know. We threw $10 into the hat. We all took you. Okay, go ahead. No.
So, okay, what do you think you can maximize out of that? You know, as opposed to playing in the 1-3-1. And I know that you guys did some adjusting away from it more toward the end of last year. But what can you maximize out of that with the 1-2-2?
Well, we think that's there's a number of different things. The game there's pieces of the game, but they're not separate. They're all connected. So we think we can get our forward skating a little bit more by adjusting to a 1-2-2. And that's in the neutral zone, yes, but it also may lead to how you break the puck out when the puck does come in. Because we all know, no matter what the system you play in the neutral zone, the puck's going to end up behind your goal line for different reasons. So the different configurations lead to different configurations in this part when you're going the other way. So we think that really is going to maximize our forwards' ability to skate, and we think that's probably one of the greatest strengths of our team.
What do you think are the biggest structural changes there? Obviously, F3 is a lot different, weak side D, somewhat. Can you give us a little bit for the less initiated, everybody's less initiated, of how it changes things structurally, I guess?
Yeah, well, I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but I think one of the things is, you know, oftentimes you'd see our right forward or right winger on the breakouts from the neutral zone. He plays the wide side. He'd end up in that back right corner, and you often won't see that as much this year. They might not work their way back there at all. They might be top of the circles, and so when you start thinking of guys like Kempe and Trevor Moore playing on the right side, whether he ends up there or Fogle, those guys start a little higher in the zone, and they get a chance to maybe step a little quicker, read the play, and get on the D faster, whether it's a breakout pass or anything else. So that's what we really wanted to do. Let those guys get moving and put a little more heat on the D early.
How much is player input in that? Because Kevin hasn't liked it. Kobe said we're not playing a 1-3-1 this season. He just said it.
He just said it now?
Yeah, he's the assistant coach.
No, he didn't, yeah. So, no, well, that's the great thing about Kopi. Kopi found out in the last few days.
But how much is player input, if you know the players aren't really thrilled playing the system, especially the offensive improvement, does that influence your decision at all? Is it purely what you and the staff think?
No, I would say you would consider that, but I would say the team, and this is what nobody can measure, the team has had relatively good success coming through a short dip in the rebuild, coming through with the 1-3-1, playing the 1-3 and making the playoffs 3 years ago and then 2 years ago and last year. And we'll sit here and I'll tell you forever, we're not happy that we didn't advance beyond the first round in either of those 3 years. But what I would say to you is, how much of that success do you attribute to the 1-3-1? Because there's certainly some that you have to, right? So it's difficult to just pick one little piece of the game and say that was good or that was bad. They all tie together. So I think the 1-3-1 is a very effective system. I thought, the guys played it very well. We just think where we're at now as a franchise, it's time to make an adjustment and see if we can get our forwards to skate a little bit more. And hopefully we get better results because of it.
Now that you are firmly in place, how much do you feel like you can put more of your stamp on things?
Well, there's definitely more time. We have this time, and it's not me. We had a coaching staff, and we talk about the game a lot. We talk about changing a system, the unintended consequences of changing a system. Now this might happen. There's a lot of things you go through, but we feel like moving to this 1-2-2, maybe breaking out differently, transitioning differently. There's different parts of the game that we hope as a whole are slight adjustments and are able for us to create a little bit more offense. So they're hard to do on the fly, and it'll be hard to do over the next 2.5 weeks to get it ready for the regular season. But we've tried not to add too much, but we think we've added enough to try to free the guys up a little bit.
Over that, off that Newell, you got Newell here on set. He's obviously got so much experience, numerous teams, obviously whatsoever. So what does he bring to this staff mix?
Yeah.
For you and particularly what the roles that he'll play?
Really good perspective. When you don't have experience, you don't think it's important. And when you have it, you realize how important it is. And so he can draw on a number of different coaches. In part of those conversations, we tried that, we did that. I like that. So we bounce a lot of that kind of stuff off of him. He's done most of the different things over the years. And then he's just got a real calm presence, a real calm, delivers his information very well. And I think just really probably complements our staff. I can be loud at times. DJ can be loud at times. That's been well documented. Newell sometimes is the voice of reason and just kind of, making sense of the chaos sometimes. So he's been a really, really strong addition for us.
There were some questions surrounding Northern County's status with the organization from last year. He didn't find a lot of ice time, and then kind of late into the summer, finally got a contract. He talked about having a fresh start now with the team. What do you need to see from him in order to get him maybe more ice time to start the year?
Yeah, I'll just first say this, and I talked to Arthur about this. It was a really, really difficult second half for Arthur. We all know that. Didn't play much. But from a personal level, it's really, really difficult. And so we empathize with that for him. And we did at the time. We just know that. So that's a hard summer for him. It really is. And it was up in the air. Was he going to come back? Wasn't he? And I think the great part of our team is he's back. He's a king again. We'll move what happened in the past from our perspective. He's had a summer to kind of flush that too. And now he just goes back to the same standard as every other player. So nothing really changes. Arthur, you have to do this. No. And he's had some great games. He's had some great stretches of time. It's a level of consistency for him, a level of detail for him. He knows these aren't things that he doesn't know, but it is for every player. Arshil's got a special skill set. We understand that. But he starts with a clean slate, but he doesn't start up here. He's like these other guys who are trying to see, where do I fit?
Is it a fresh start for you with him? And how big is this preseason for him to gain trust in all that comes with it?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, but I understand, I know Arthur's strengths and weaknesses currently, so, or in the past, we've seen those. Coaches want to win games, and you can say there are times that wasn't a very good decision, or we can second guess that decision, but as I said to Arthur, we just want to win games. So if Arthur goes out there and plays really well, in our eyes, we're going to get Arthur to go out there and play really well again. We hope. And if he does it again, he's going to go again. And if we felt like he faltered, somebody else who thought they were going to get their chance is going to get their chance. So it's never personal. It's where do you fit? What do you contribute? And how are you evaluated by your coaches and your management staff? Everybody with the intention to win. That's all. And it's win today.
Most Matt relied on the line. That's 20 minutes a night. So you assume that, we'll assume Spence gets more time. Is Brand Clark capable of ready to play 15 minutes a night in the NHL?
I don't know. It's a good question. Is he capable of playing 20 minutes a night in the NHL? I don't know that. Is he capable of playing? We don't know. That's the beauty of this. They went away to Brant in particular. I will say this. He probably had as good of a summer as you can have as a young player in the position that he was in. Some of the things he did, the commitment he made, to certain things that were laid out for him, and then some of the physical gains he made, he gave himself the best chance, I can tell you that. Now let's see. Let's see.
With Newell coming in, how is that gonna change the kind of division of labor and responsibility with the coaching stuff? And I know last year you had kind of remained focused on the power play. I believe DJ ran the bench, is that correct?
No, DJ was just up with me with the forwards. Yeah, he didn't have that specific responsibility. He had more game review, kind of reviewing the game at that
Thanks
time.
for clarifying.
Yeah.
And so how are you guys gonna kind of divide things up this year with maybe a little bit more traditional arrangement?
Sure. Yeah, sure. DJ will come down and he'll run the defenseman, and he'll have responsibility of the power play on top of that. Newell will be up front with me. He will run the power play. And then Derek Johnson will be the eye in the sky, and then he'll come down and join us on the bench for the third period too. And then, of course, we have Sam and Cole with their responsibilities. So we've kind of piecemealed it together a little bit more. We've kind of broadened, I would think, everybody's responsibilities in a certain way, because we're going to look at some different things maybe a little closer than we did at the second half of last year.
What do you want to see in this camp from players like Alex Turcotte, Akil Thomas, who've obviously been here before, played with the Kings before, but are now kind of looking to truly make the team out of camp?
Right. Nothing different than any other player. You got to work. You got to show us your detail, and you got to be a positive contributing player. And that's, boy, and I've said this, and then maybe it's not the best answer. It's a complicated game. You can contribute in different areas that sometimes go unnoticed until you go back and watch the game. And so that's what it is. If you have positive contributing players in all these different spots, that's good. But the next step is, does this player contribute more than this guy? And then if he does, he gets moved ahead. So there's nothing specific. There's nothing specific. He's a talented player. He showed us that. He can skate. He had probably a good 10 days, 2 weeks with Kopi while Kempe was hurt last year when he played with Q, and played very well. Then maybe fell off a little bit. We just look for him to come back, confident, strong, and play his game, and he'll be evaluated like everybody else. Same standard.
Jim, so much talk about, obviously, Q playing center. He's obviously thrilled about it, to be back in his natural position. How much permanence is there with Q in the middle? I mean, we're talking, we're gonna do this all season and see how he succeeds or fails, or is it 10 to 15 games and then reevaluate, or what?
Yeah. Trying to tie me down here on this one. No, this one, and coaches don't like to get tied down. Why would we? And everything is always open to change. But we really have seen Q for a long time as being a centerman in the league. He was drafted as a centerman. He did a nice job establishing himself on the wing with Kopi. But Q, in our minds, is a centerman, and he will be for a long time. So there's no trial period here. We're not testing him out. Q is a centerman. He's going to be a good one for a long time.
Regarding the power play, it might be a little too early to talk about deployment, but you've got now 3 defensemen who can quarterback the power play with Clark now on the line, with Spence and Doughty. Have you guys thought about maybe utilizing all 3 3 or 2, or is that something that will develop over the season?
It'll develop, but we've had those discussions for sure, Russell, because all three can play it. All three have done it well. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but there's multiple options, and that is one option is to have the two of them on one power play.
On the Russia, how many spots are really open up? Maybe third pair, right side, and your fourth line's gonna look pretty different this season, but everybody else looks to be settled in. Are there a lot of roster decisions being made?
Well, I would just say this. I would say this because this is a fresh example. Last year, we could have, I mean, you guys were talking to Todd, but we could have talked about this, and Todd had a good idea. We talked to his coaches. There was nobody in the coaches' room that thought Alex Laferriere was going to be on the team. Never mind here, never mind 4 games into preseason, right? So what I would say is things are always changing. The two big guys today, Lee and Hellenius in the scrimmage, you know, I watched them play in the American League at the end of last year. Played really well. They caught everybody's attention today, you know? What does that mean? I don't know, but they had a good day. They caught your attention. So your job is, if you're in competition with those guys, is to catch our attention tomorrow. And their job is to catch our attention tomorrow. So it's really difficult, Dennis. In a perfect world, we have, which I'm not going to share with you, we have a model or an idea of what it might look like. Well, we are hoping that, like today, 2 guys jump out at you and go, holy smokes, whoa, okay, let's see where it goes. That's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty of players growing and getting better over time and pushing from underneath.
How have you seen a guy like Laferriere grow over the last 12 months, where maybe a year ago today he was expected to head to Ontario, and fast forward to training camp today and he's skating with juice?
Yeah. Well, he had a really good season. And as a young player, a college player, you know, there's if you just think historically, there's a good push and then there's a fade, and then you don't really get much at the end of them. The times that Laff faded at different points last year, he just did a dip and then he was able to get himself back. So it was like, okay, maybe this is it for Laff. Maybe it's down to the 4th line, or maybe it's out of the lineup, or maybe it's to the minors. But he was able to catch himself and come right back up and contribute in the way that we wanted him to play. And then in the playoffs, I think if you look back, the physicality as a first-year player, I think he might have led in the first round at least, I think he might have led the playoffs in hits. Not that that's the be-all, end-all, but for a young player, a college player, to have that kind of gas at the end of the year, it shows the type of player that he wants to be, what he's willing to do, and we need those types of guys on our team. Now, his challenge is, he's got a pretty good spot up there with those two. His challenge is to keep it, to your point. Looks good, right? But there's no guarantees.
Whereas coaches often talk about maybe having, really even 10 deep to get through an 82-game schedule. Okay, you obviously lost Roy, but from the looks of it, you got maybe 10 deep that played in a good amount of NHL games.
Yeah.
To go into it, how do you feel about the depth as opposed to say a year ago?
Well, that's probably the strength of the organization right now. That's as deep as I've seen a D-corps since I've been in the league. That's as deep of a D-corps as I've seen. You're right. You talk about competition. That's good. And there will be players that end up out of that group in Ontario. It just has to be. But that's as deep of a D-corps with experience and potential, young potential, as I've seen. So that's what you want out of an organization for sure.
Throughout last season, you and Todd both showed a lot of confidence in Andreas Englund, and obviously a lot of the attitude and stuff he brought to the team. But now with Edmondson coming in, where do you see his role for the coming season?
Again, it's the same answer as I said to Dennis. He's being evaluated just like Eddie's being evaluated. Where does Edmondson fit? How many minutes is he going to play? Where is he going to play? Then if he's that, then where does Engie play? Where does Spenny play? Where does Burroughs play? It's a bit of a puzzle, and we just can't answer any of those questions right now. We just have to see. But Engie, through his season last year, you're right. He earned a lot of respect and equity with the coaching staff for sure. And not just ours. If you talk to different people across the league, he established himself pretty well.
Good to see Phoenix back on the ice, would assume, since he's out there at 100%.
Incredible, yes. And he tested out in fitness. He was near the top again. Just a terrible injury, but to see him make it all the way back and earlier than we thought, just because of the work he put in, you have to be happy for him. Loves the game.
How do you assist the penalty kill that was effective against 30 teams? One team wasn't effective against, and you only played in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, was that a successful power play of the penalty kill? Do you have to revamp it because of what happened in the postseason? How are you looking at that?
Yeah, I think we'll certainly build, we believe we can build on the basis that we had from last year. I think we always have to now have an eye on getting better. We have to have an eye on being able to have a couple different looks that we can maybe adjust to, whether we're playing Edmonton or anybody else, and that's regular season or playoffs, doesn't really matter. But we really like what the penalty kill did, but we, like everything, we have to evolve it. We have to get it better, and I think probably the playoffs is evidence of that.
The biggest departure was Dubois. He's made comments that he never felt comfortable here, even though what the team wanted from him. Your turn. Do you have any comments about his departure?
I don't know. I really liked PL. I think him and I had a good relationship. I don't think it went as well for him here. That's obvious, but I like him. Good guy, and I wish him well in Washington.